Flying Casuals brought to you by Patreon supporters Brent, Kelly Breckner, Jory Webb, Wes Anderson, David Bush, and Nate Edison. May the Force be with you.
You're listening to Flying Casual, a Star Wars podcast. Here's your host, Michael Canterbury.
Flying Casual fam, welcome back to our third installment of Casual Council. It's looking a little crowded in here today, Holly, and I love it.
It's like the Brady Bunch up in here.
Our entire council is finally home. We are missing a couple of folks, but mostly everyone is here tonight. And the storms are brewing. If this, if we just stop recording at any point, likely our home was struck by lightning. And the podcast is ended, and this is the last that you'll ever see of it.
So wish us well.
I did plug everything into a surge protector tonight, Holly. So I hope, the show goes on.
And you did remember to put the SD card in the computer.
We are recording,
so
and the Roadcaster recording on Skype.
There will be record.
Absolutely.
For whenever somebody finds the remains.
Absolutely. There are a few familiar faces with us tonight, Holly. Of course, handsome Mr. Seth Avett. I'm sorry, Luke Elder. Rocking a solid X-Wing shirt. That was an Avett Brothers reference for anyone that doesn't know who Seth Avett is.
I spent a portion of my day watching concert videos on YouTube and got some Avets in today.
It felt like you were, being a little nostalgic tonight, and I loved it. So that's happening to all of us right now.
I'll take a reference as the drummer of Kings of Leon as well. I was watching some of that too.
Oh, that's a band I haven't heard about in a long, long time. Are they relevant anymore?
Yes.
They still are. Okay,
sure.
Cool. Now, I'm learning new things every day. I didn't think they've been relevant since 2006, but that's just me. Also, another familiar face, Jory. How's it going tonight?
Doing good, bud. Doing real good. Got the drink in hand, kids in bed, all good to go. Checklist is done.
I'll forgive the fact that he's having Jack with Pepsi, Holly.
But it sounds like everything's where it should be.
Phrasing? We need to get you on the Coke train, but I'll accept maybe that's a Michigan thing. I don't know, Pepsi.
Well.
Nettie's also with us tonight. Nettie, how's it going, buddy?
Can't complain. Ready to talk some Star Wars.
Let's go. I am as well. And two faces you probably haven't seen yet on the Casual Council here, but we are the last time we talked about these guys, they were out saving the Republic or burning it down. Holly, I don't know if we ever got clarification on what exactly they were doing.
I think that we just heard that it was a diplomatic mission. A
diplomatic mission could be putting down a rebellion, right?
Can we get more details?
Brent, I gotta know, man. No, actually, David told us he was putting down an insurrection, but Brent was stuffing traffic. But Brent, it's awesome to have you on tonight, buddy. How's it going?
Everything's doing really good. I appreciate being here, and it's quite an honor.
Oh my gosh, Brent has been. If you're not in the Facebook group right now, guys listening, go to the Facebook group. He's killing it, Holly, right now in the Facebook group.
100%.
The best polls, though, Brent, I'm still waiting for the poll about how bad is Jory gonna wipe. Wait, who did we set up? Brent and Jory for trials?
Michael doesn't even know.
I don't even remember who we scheduled.
Are you even scheduling this?
Wait, no. It was Brent and Jory.
I think it was Jory and I.
Yeah, Brent was going to create a poll that said, how badly am I going to wipe Jory with the floor in trials?
Or is it wipe the floor with Jory?
Well, probably. We're going to get you those details soon, Brent, but it's probably going to be a Rogue One trivia trials special. So start watching now. If you haven't seen it already, I'm assuming you have and watched it a few times, but I'll send you guys the details soon. But I am looking forward to that. Brent has been killing it in the group. He's been a huge part of this podcast for a long time, and I am so glad we finally got him here. It's daylight there in California. I love it. It's throwing me all off. We got thunderstorms and darkness here, so I love it that you're enjoying that sunshine, my friend. We also have with us David for the first time. David, my friend, how's it going?
It's going good. Good. Glad it got talked into it.
Yes, I was a little bummed. I didn't want to come off as being too bummed, but I'm so glad you made the time, and I know you've been busy, and it's good that you're busy because work's hard to find right now. So I'm glad you're staying busy, and I'm glad you're taking a little bit of time to hang out with us on a Saturday night. I know everyone probably has much cooler things to do right now than to hang out with us nerds, but we totally appreciate it, and we're just gonna get into it. Is that cool?
I think that I think there's some stuff we need to know about Brent and David.
We do.
I feel like we've gotten everybody's Star Wars stories.
Absolutely.
From the Casual Council.
Absolutely.
Except for these two.
Yeah. Brent, I want to start with you, man. Your knowledge is deep in Star Wars, and I got to know where that started.
I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with drive-in movie, but I was 4 years old. My parents took me to see my first movie on the big screen, and this was back in 1980. Back then, TVs were much smaller than they are now, so going to see something out there on the big screen itself was quite an experience. Except for, it also comes with the caveat of you're listening to it on the McDonald's drive-thru speaker. But that first movie I went to go see was Star Wars: A New Hope. And this was in 1980, so it was right before they had released The Empire Strikes Back, which my father then took me to go see the following week in the theater with proper sound. And at 4 years old, those two experiences just blew my mind, and I've been kind of stuck there ever since.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, and then continuing growing up, and then just happened to be randomly at a bookstore one day. My dad's picking up the newest Clancy book, and there was the brand new Thrawn novel, Heir to the Empire, by Timothy Zahn, and started my love in the expanded universe to hold me over until we wound up getting the prequel trilogy, and then continued on with that, and now we got these new ones here and everything that Disney's doing, so can't complain too much.
So after seeing the Star Wars for the first time, you're reading the books, did you ever expect that they were going to come and start making more movies? Did that ever cross your mind as a kid?
I always hoped it would. I mean, there was the Ewok Adventures, catching those on TV. So, burning out the old VHS tape that we bootlegged off the TV back in the day. And so, it's kind of the similar story to everyone else here. You fall in love with it, and just luckily I've been able to keep it around with me as I continue to grow old and be able to pass it on to my kids.
So what is it though? Is it that you wanted to pass that on? Do you think if you didn't have kids, you'd still be loving it, or is it sharing that experience with your kids that's really you're holding on to Star Wars because you'd love to share that with your kids?
I just hold on to it anyway. I just always loved the story, just loved the idea of it. The entire concept of the Force and just everything that George Lucas did back then. I can complain about things here and there, but it's the story we get, and it's the story that it's the story I love. So that's how it is.
I don't think it could be any better put. That is fantastic, man. And you had an experience, I think. I don't know if anyone, of the younger generation will ever get a drive-in movie theater. I mean, are there any around anymore? I think they're all gone at this point.
I know of one.
If there's any open, they should be making a killing right now. It's the only way you can go see a movie.
Right? That's actually, pandemic proof. I mean, that's actually not a bad idea. Jory, are you making your way to the drive-in anytime soon?
Yeah, I actually have a drive-in less than 8 miles away from me. So... And crazy enough, my wife won't listen to this, but she is still on my case because we've been together for 8 years and we have not went to the drive-in yet. So it's terrible.
That needs to happen. Maybe, this weekend.
Stat.
Take her to a flick, throw the kids in the car too. I actually can't imagine taking children to a theater, let alone just sitting in the car watching a 2-hour film. So I don't know. Maybe that's not a good idea. I haven't been around children much, so I don't know how that would go. Brent, if you don't mind, how old are your children? Are they into Star Wars? If they're not, is that really sad for you?
No, I see. My daughter's 10 years old. She's gone to see every new movie that's come out since Disney's acquired the production in theaters with us. Since she would have been about 5 when Force Awakens came out. So we've been treating her right and trying to set up the good rule. Her probably favorite character is either Jyn, Rey, or Sabine. I think
Nice.
she'd probably will be because she likes to dye her hair and she's a little bit of. And then my son is 2 years old, and he was born right after the Last Jedi, and he's still named Luke. So kind of tells you how I feel.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Oh goodness, that is a great story, and there's a lot of families in the Casual fam, and everyone is passing it on to their children, and I freaking love it. Makes me want to have kids, Holly.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. You're learning
Careful.
that live. You're learning
Dangerous talk right there.
dangerous talk. We are in a quarantine. Things can happen. David, I want to come to you now, my friend. You also have been you've been around in this group for a long time, and we're now just kind of getting you a little more involved. Where did that Star Wars love start? Were you another, VHS kid who was just burning through that thing all the time, or a laser disc or something, or are you a later bloomer like myself?
Oh no, I'm probably a little older than most of you, so I grew up. My cousin, he was a couple years older than me, so I would go to his house. They had Star Wars on VHS, so we would watch that. Sometimes I go over and be in the middle of the movie, and I would just sit down. It didn't matter what else was going on. It was always the coolest place to go because he had Star Wars. So, it started there, and the first movie I remember seeing in the theater is Return of the Jedi. And so I had all the action figures. I used to throw them off the roof with parachutes. Too bad I didn't save them. I'd probably, be worth something now. But it's been lifelong since then. It's to me, it's the only thing I really nerd out about.
Yeah.
If I call it that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're not alone. We know quite a few people that have insane regrets that they didn't hold on to their Star Wars memorabilia. Luke and I have a buddy, Kelly, at work, and he let his son, when he was born, play with his collectibles, and that just, they didn't last. So we sent, funny little, hey, that whatever you had, that starship would have been worth, $500 nowadays. That could have helped paid off his education.
Just don't look it up on
eBay.
Look it up.
I just gave the Ewok village, the big Ewok village, to my nephew. He's like 4 now because it's been ruined so many times over the years. It was like, here, you can play with it now.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I'll tell you, I started getting my nephew introduced to Star Wars, and we've got him little action figures and stuff, and I'll give Luke and he'll have his green laser sword, and he'll be like, no, I'll give him the red one. I'm like, nah, that's not how it goes. Like, he just wants how kids are. It's like with Legos, they just kind of smash them together, and I'm just kind of perfectionist. No, he needs to have his green sword. He just doesn't understand it yet.
Or he gravitates naturally to the
dark side. I mean, we're known to have it in our blood. I think we all are at times. But you actually it looks like you have a pretty sick collection there, David. I know it's blurred out right now, probably because you don't want us to know what you got back there. But
it's a little of this and that, things I picked up over the years, but nothing special, really.
Holly,
I do have my old Empire Strikes Back lunchbox, the metal one. I do have that there.
What I'm talking about.
I was gonna ask what your favorite artifact is.
Yeah. Yeah, they would probably
that might be it.
It's the lunchbox.
That's what I'm talking
It's the lunchbox.
Well, I've got to work on mine. So Holly, take note of that background because we've got the studio needs to we need that touch.
The built-ins really just.
I don't think we're going to go in that deep, but we can buy some phrasing. We can buy some cabinets, Holly. We're already doing enough around this house, but Brent, I got to ask you. So you grew up with Star Wars. You were there for the original trilogy. Is it the original trilogy that is it what have you accepted the newer Star Wars? I guess I should say. I think in the Facebook group you've done a great job of saying there's value in all of it. But is the original trilogy really what sticks with you? And if so, like what's your favorite movie?
Oh well, I mean. Yeah, I mean, the original trilogy definitely, it has the special place in my heart. It's, it's what I, binged as a child. I've, watched Empire Strikes Back thousands of times. I used to have it memorized by heart, and I could recite everything. So, I mean, the original trilogy is definitely there, but there's the entire prequel trilogy has all of its great moments. It's not typically well received.
Yeah.
If you take a step back and absorb it all and just think of the story, tells all the Darth Vader and everything that goes on in there. And sure, everything could have been done a little bit better in hindsight, but
yeah,
that's what it does the job. And you have all those great scenes, all the great music, and then you get into the new trilogy with everything that JJ did, and everything that Rey represents, and it's maybe not the way that everyone had envisioned Luke going, but at the same time it's completely understandable, and it almost makes sense because both of his masters went into seclusion, so at some point he was destined to do that.
Yeah.
It almost means the expanded universe was great, but at the same time Luke was not a big part of most of the books, because you can't have a Jedi master that's all powerful, because he just walks in and the book's over. And so you always have him out doing something completely mundane until the very end of the book.
Yeah.
So they're all great. They all offer different parts of the story. For that, that's what's going on. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're doing. Loving the Mandalorian, love Rebels and everything they're doing. Looking forward to Obi-Wan. What else they got down the pipeline?
Absolutely. He's such a level-headed guy, Brent, and that's one thing I noticed. It comes through in the group. It comes through when you're talking. You're a level-headed guy, and you're so well-spoken, and you're doing such awesome things in the group, and I personally can't thank you enough for that, man. The polls, the conversation has just been fantastic. I love what you're doing now, and you're going movie by movie and saying, hey, guys, like, what do you find valuable in this movie? We all find value in it, but some people pick up on, episode 2 has, there's moments in it that are a little more memorable than some maybe that I, didn't pick up on as much.
I knew Michael was going to bring up episode 2.
Oh, there's no episode 2 hate here, no matter what the reviews say. Let's get that out. There's no episode 2 hate here, but I just needed to tell you that, man, because you've been killing it in that group, and I know I appreciate that. You're in there, just weekly, just starting conversation, and people feed off of it. So thank you for that, man. You've been doing an awesome job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Just it's nice to have people to talk to Star Wars about.
Right. It's a safe place. I feel like I can't let this flag fly really at work. Luke's the only person I can talk to in confidence about all of this. Any of my other friends aren't really interested or care or know what I'm talking. My family definitely doesn't. I don't even think Holly knows what I'm talking about
half the time.
This kid doesn't know Star Wars. But
I don't know if you don't let it fly. I mean, you've got a Star Wars shirt on in the office every other day. I mean,
that's true. That's true.
And he does have half of his collection in the office too.
Well, yeah. And I probably, since we're working from home now, I probably need to. Are we ever going back? I don't know. I probably should get that collection out of the office, because I have a really sick Han Solo Most Wanted poster, and some other cool collectibles in there. I have 3 Black Series figures in there. Why haven't I taken those home?
Why haven't you?
The building could burn down tomorrow, guys.
You'd never get them back.
I will be out all of that loot. Well, that is a great. I will go in on Monday and get all of that.
Travis.
There's a really cool point Brent made there that I hadn't really thought of for Last Jedi and Luke's seclusion that I want to maybe just take a minute on. I haven't heard many people talk about the parallels to Obi-Wan and Yoda as far as at some point in their life going into exile.
Yeah.
And that's, people talk a lot about how George wanted like rhyming in the stories. And there's that's a form of like storytelling poetry, that some of the same beats get hit, in different parts of the saga, the same themes and things like that. So I think that's a really cool connection that I hadn't really spent much time thinking about. I mean, people get so hung up on that's just not the Luke they were looking for or hoping for, without looking at some of the, like I said, sort of poetry of that similarity between Yoda and Obi-Wan following the footsteps of his masters. I love the way that he phrased that.
Well, and I mean, that expanded universe that we all know and we love, but like we think of it as like, that's Luke Skywalker post episode 6, but like, I do not feel like that's the Luke Skywalker that George Lucas was going to give us. If anything, it felt like the Luke Skywalker we got in episode 8 is very similar to what we were going to get from George Lucas. David, is that just my impression, or did you, is that what you kind of saw Luke as being this this farm boy who was a legend and then ended up learning failure and maybe wasn't as great as we all had thought that he was in the expanded universe.
I'm torn on all of it. So, for me, Luke, I wanted to see after episode 6 what Luke, the Luke we wanted, and okay, we didn't get it, but they just, I don't know. It's not what I wanted to see. And anyway, I get what Brent is saying. It does make sense that way.
Yeah.
And I can deal with it, but I wanted to see, Luke with his green lightsaber kicking some ass, and I never got to see that. So to me, it knocks them down almost to prequel status for me anyway. The whole sequel trilogy.
Yeah, and I definitely get that. Yeah, because we've only really gotten that. I mean, with that epic moment with Kylo, but the comic books. I mean, that's the only time we've ever really seen him light up that green saber, and the recent comics we're looking at now. So I totally get what you're saying, and it'd be interesting. That's why I'd like to see some side stories, maybe some other stuff that he was doing, post the temple burning. But what were you gonna say?
But to that point, I don't want to have to read a comic or a book to see that. I think like Luke is the greatest hero in the history of anything to me, and I don't want to have to take the time to read some book that I don't have the time for. I want to see it on the screen, and I think we kind of got gypped, is the way I feel.
I feel you. And I needed some more Luke Skywalker love in this group because I do not feel like there is enough of it. Sometimes people give me crap for it. Not Holly, of course, because she's a big Luke Skywalker fan. But it's just, I don't know. It's just what he overcame. He was the original hero in my eye. I know Obi-Wan had his moments, but he was the original hero for me. Nettie would know. I got to know what Nettie thinks about all this Luke Skywalker talk. I actually don't know if Nettie's a big Luke Skywalker fan.
It's definitely not my favorite character, but I definitely like him. And
how did I know
that? And I've talked before about how much I like The Last Jedi, and I think Luke's character arc in that movie is a big part of that. I will preface too that before I saw The Last Jedi, I don't think I'd read any of the EU that was after Episode 6, and since then I think I've only read the original Thrawn trilogy with Luke in it. So, I don't have that exposure to the EU Luke as much as some people might, so that might be influencing my opinion. But I just really like the idea that, even though he took down the Emperor, like he was still being tempted by the dark side, that, something with life, like just because you beat a battle once doesn't mean that battle's not going to come back again. Say I suffer from depression and anxiety, and that's something that, I've had to learn multiple times. So maybe I kind of felt it was relatable in that sense. So I really liked that arc, and then the whole theme of failure in that movie I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
So like I've said before, I really like The Last Jedi and like Luke's arc, but I completely understand if it's not what people wanted.
But very well put. I mean, the battle is there's a lot of people that battle with those things, and it's always a constant struggle, and we learn that he's still learning things, and maybe he did go on those epic quests and do all those epic things. We just didn't really get to see it because it's almost like maybe Disney is like, you already know that story. We're going to show you a little different side of Luke, and maybe that battle, coming back around, and then, the Emperor coming back. It's all kind of muddled for me now. Like, who knew what, and why didn't they say something sooner? I need to watch the Rise of Skywalker a few more times, Holly, because I feel like it's not very clear to me. Who knew Palpatine was coming back? Leia apparently did.
I felt like a slam on R2-D2.
Well, he should have told everyone a lot of stuff. I feel like everyone can agree R2's been probably holding back. Maybe they just don't understand him. I don't know.
He's not a snitch.
He's not a snitch. He didn't tell anyone, Anakin was Darth Vader or anything. Yeah, you're right.
I wonder how much of the direction they went with Luke is of a result of the timing of when the movies were made. I think if it was the late 80s or early 90s when you made Episode 7 and beyond, it might have been a different Luke that we were presented with. I wonder if the Ryan Johnson or in producers Kathleen Kennedy, everyone looked at the character and said, well, our performer is now in his 60s, and kind of let's do a different thing with a person at that stage of their life than what we would do with somebody who, Mark Hamill in the early 90s would have been in his early 30s, right? So I wonder if that was just part of the reason that they went in the direction they did. I mean, obviously you can do different things in terms of the way that the character's outlook is. They despite his age, could have had him, not shut off and not exiled, and not in a pessimistic, sort of depressed place.
Yeah.
So this doesn't really speak to that at all. But I wonder, just in terms of like the wanting to see the more kind of action hero Luke aspect of things, was because of where the real person was at that point in their life.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and thinking it like, what if Disney Plus would have been around a little post episode 6? You could have had Luke Skywalker out with his son, just kind of gallivanting, fighting monsters and saving the world, being the leader of the Jedi Council. Like, that would have been sick, because it's something that we can now do with Disney Plus. You can really take these characters and flesh them out, probably like we're going to do with Cassian, probably like we're going to do with Obi-Wan. And that's what I'm interested to see. Will we see, we got that kind of story with Luke. He kind of broken, learning things at an older age. Will we see Obi-Wan doing something similar, or will Obi-Wan be out there riding blurgs and bringing out his laser sword and fighting monsters? Like, what are we going to get? Anybody have an idea?
I was Luke made a great point about just the timing of when the movies are actually made or whatever. Think about kind of what was going on socially at the time. Bill Cosby being accused of all of his sexual misdeviances, and a lot of these big time celebrities being accused of doing all these sorts of shady sorts of things or whatever. So you kind of get that, and it kind of translates to Luke. Like maybe you look up to these heroes and they're maybe not quite all that they're cracked up to be, and that kind of maybe it portrayed or came through a little bit into the movie in the way that Luke's arc, was ultimately kind of written. He's like, yeah, he's the greatest of all time, but maybe he's not all he was cracked up to be. Which,
sure.
I hate saying about Luke. He is great, but it could be something that fed into it.
Definitely. David, I want to ask you, what is Obi-Wan a character you're really interested in? Like, what do you want to see from this Disney series that we're going to get?
I would hope to see probably some Vader in it. I think I'd definitely like to see what the relationship is between him and Luke. I think it should focus on the whole Tatooine aspect to what was going on. I don't want to see him traveling around doing this adventure, that adventure. I want a continuation of the story of the end of episode 3 leading into episode 4, which, by the way, when I first started watching, it was just called Star Wars. So we were watching Star Wars. It wasn't episode 4.
Yeah.
And so it took a long time for me to be able to switch my mind and call them episodes, because it was Star Wars.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I agree. I want Obi-Wan struggling with what he did, and that may be a little slower pace, but I think him on Tatooine writing this journal for Luke Skywalker, and that we learn in the comic books that he was doing. Like, what led him to write this journal? Did he not see himself being around much longer? Was he tempted to just go find love somewhere off world? Like, what was going through his mind right now? And I'm with you, man. As much as I thought Vader could take away from the story, I feel like you gotta have Vader. I don't know who else would live up to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Whether they battle, I don't know, but maybe there's some Force connection there too. I don't know, that we could kind of play with. Brent, have you given any thought to the Kenobi series coming out?
Not really too much to the Kenobi, but I'm kind of on the opposite end of that, where I really don't want to see Vader in it, because you get that part in episode 4 where the last time I sensed his presence was in the presence of my old master. So to have them interact, I mean, I could see them maybe passing ways, But a direct interaction, I think, would really just kind of throw a lot of things into, I don't know, just some weirdness.
That's true.
We know when that.
You have to talk into the microphone.
I
Holly.
do. Do we know exactly when this is going to be set?
It's a few years before episode 4, I think. Luke, correct me. Am I wrong?
Is that confirmed?
Yeah, I don't know that they've really nailed that down. So I don't know that we know how old. I'd love for anyone else who's got more of a source on that. It'd be really interesting to. You got to figure there's a young Luke that makes an appearance at some point in this show, and I think it would be interesting. Since we just did Leia, Princess of Alderaan in the book club, she was, I think, about 16 in that book, right? And then I think she's 19ish, 20 by the time of A New Hope. So I think it'd be really cool to see Luke at that same age, that really coming into a form of adulthood, old enough to grapple with big things, not too young to really be a serious character.
Yeah, Jory.
See, and I'm kind of on a different mindset, and to where I think that it'd be really hard to find an actor that would look like Luke. And so, I mean, granted, you could, and who knows, how they're going to do it. But I'm on the same mindset of, I think we need to see Luke at some point. But I'm thinking 6, 7 years old, where they're young enough to where you can't really, tell the difference. You see, a young Luke, playing with something or whatever it may be. Or maybe just watching from afar, seeing him in the distance. If we do get that time frame of, he's older, then maybe we wouldn't see the face, or just see him from afar. But I'm in the same boat as everybody else. I have no clue. It's just all speculation at this point. But I'm just really ready to see the series. I think it's going to be a really cool series for us.
Yeah. So we don't think that we're going to get a deep fake of Mark Hamill, right? That's not going to be what we're going to see. I hope not.
I think it could be something like they did in The Rise of Skywalker, though. I mean, we got a flashback of Luke and Leia training, and I don't know. I think
de-aged Mark Hamill.
I think it's going to be really
a
Benjamin Button Hamill. I think it's going to be really tricky to do that in the show and have people get on board with it, because everybody, you already know Luke at that time in his life.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I don't know. I don't know how, if you don't bring in Vader, you don't bring in Luke. I mean, what is Ben Kenobi up against? What is it? Just him battling with his inner demons? Is it him better understanding the Force? Will we see him, learning more about the Force? Now, I'd be down with that. I don't necessarily want him going on some trippy, experience like Yoda did in the Clone Wars series that last season before, it came back. That was kind of strange. I don't necessarily want anything like that, but I'd be down for him to be learning from Yoda, maybe, or even Qui-Gon. That might be kind of cool. Yeah, Jory.
Now, if they did the de-aging, and I mean, it could work either way. But I think why it works so well with Tarkin is because he was on a dark ship the whole time. So it was, you didn't have to do a lot of reflections and things like that with the actual the graphics and things. So when you're on Tatooine, though, you have two suns. It's bright. So I think it would be kind of hard to do the de-aging. I mean, granted, I do not work in special effects, so I have no clue. But I think why it works so well with Tarkin is because they could de-age, and obviously the guy that played Tarkin he passed away at the time, but you de-age and just kind of work with those visual effects a little bit easier because you can have so many different elements to work with.
Definitely. Are any of you guys excited about the Cassian show coming out? I mean, for me, Cassian wasn't a huge reason why I liked Rogue One, but the more I watch it, the more I really like his character. Nettie, you excited for Cassian at all?
It's more Star Wars, so I'm definitely excited. I say I'm kind of in the same boat. Say, Rogue One's not my favorite, film. So the characters aren't necessarily who I would pick, if we're gonna get a series, but
Yeah.
maybe the series will make it so that Rogue One is so much more of a gut punch. So I'm definitely down for it.
Yeah, definitely. David, how about you?
It wouldn't have been my first choice, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's more Star Wars, so of course I'm ready for it when it comes out. I hope they do something with Rebels before that happens, though.
Ah, yeah.
If I haven't finished Rebels yet, still I need to do that, but
yeah,
I would like more of that time and those characters.
No, absolutely.
I haven't finished it yet, maybe because I'm already sad about it ending.
Yeah, I probably should have just never told you that it was over. You've had a lot spoiled for you, so sorry about that.
That's okay.
But so David, what is it about
Still
Rebels?
worth watching.
Right, absolutely. It's one of the best, television shows. That's not even like animated, like television shows I've ever seen. But what is it about Rebels, man, that you like so much?
I mean, the first season was pretty slow, but just the progression and seeing the way Kanan and Ezra, grew together, and I hope this is still working. Everything changed on my end, but
Good.
okay. And just the story itself and that time period in general, it's right there, butting up to what I enjoy about Star Wars, and the original trilogy is where it's at, and so. I went over and over, see when they did the special editions. I mean, everything leading up to that and everything directly after. That's what I want to see.
Absolutely, yeah. Rebels is so special. They found a way to tie it in with that original trilogy. It felt right, even though it was animated, even though it was kid friendly. It felt like it just blended in so well, and it was great storytelling. I mean, that's taking a few characters and focusing on them. That's what Star Wars is, and they did such a great job with it.
And the surprises when they would bring in Maul, or they brought in Ahsoka out of nowhere, and just how that all came together. And I was not a big fan of Ahsoka. The Clone Wars are just kind of okay to me, but.
Yeah.
It totally changed my perspective on that character and what they did with her in this.
And David, are you talking about wanting to see kind of a crossover with the Cassian series and with Rebels, seeing some of those Rebels characters kind of appear into the Cassian?
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Is I think there has to be someone that can cross over, even Sabine or something, just to kind of keep it tied together. I mean, we could even have some Han Solo in there. I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
And that goes even with the Obi-Wan series. Obi-Wan almost seems like he knows Chewie when they're in the cantina. He introduces him to Luke like, I already know this guy. This is Chewbacca. He's the first mate on, or whatever. And so, that all could tie together as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that would be great.
That'd be amazing.
That'd actually be great.
There's a balance between like new characters, getting to know some new characters, and then bringing back the old ones you love and tying them together more. So I think we spent some time on it maybe a month or so ago talking about this, I would love to see tons of crossover characters come through, like have a Hera in there, have a Kanan, have Ezra, bring the whole gang. I think some people would roll their eyes at certain ones and like, do we need the same people over and over again? But to me, like that connective tissue, that's the fun part, and that sort of rewards the fans who are most devoted to these various aspects of everything Star Wars, movies, TV shows, comics, books, and to have that connection.
And that seems like that's what they're doing with the Mandalorian, right? And the Mandalorian isn't really a character that we should care about. We don't know a lot about him. We know he's a Mandalorian, cool, but having those connections elevate that character. I mean, we're talking about, we get the Darksaber introduced and stuff, obviously, but we're talking about bringing Ahsoka into the Mandalorian. That is, a supposed leak right now, and that's just, it's going to elevate that character and make them matter even more. So I got to ask Brent too. Brent, are you into the Rebels? Did it hit home for you?
Oh, the Rebels show, that was just great. I have absolutely no complaints with that. Everything to do with it, bringing Ahsoka in, all the new characters, Sabine and Hera and everybody else, Kanan, Ezra. it was just awesome. And you bring in Thrawn, which is, out of all the expanded universe, probably my favorite character. I mean, he was the one that started the expanded universe, so you got to go back old school and just appreciate all that. And then if they did tie-ins with Cassian, I think that would be great. I think the one thing I'm most concerned about with the Cassian series is just how exactly they approach it, because you're going back to the prequels to Rogue One essentially, where you have that issue. Anytime he gets into any sort of danger, he's going to escape it because he winds up in the movie. But I think if they do it kind of more like a spy game sort of thing, to where like Brad Pitt and Robert Redford, where he's kind of running other agents. That way you could get them in a little bit of a squirrely situation. You could kill people off right and left, and it wouldn't. And he's still there, and you could still move it on. I think that would probably work, a lot better than having him actually be the one involved all the time.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
No, I totally get what you're saying. We actually talked about that in the book club. Like when we go back and we do almost like a prequel with these characters. There's like in the Leia book we just read, there's this love interest for Leia as a kid, and you're like, nah, I know this isn't going anywhere, so they really care, but it really shows you how that character is developed, and I mean that's just kind of Star Wars. I mean they did it with the prequels, they're doing it with these books, they're doing it with the television series.
I think that's kind of the fun part though, because then then that character, hopefully if it's done the right way, this is assuming it's done well, then that character makes more sense to you,
Yeah, definitely.
because you watch it and you're like, oh, now I see why she does this, or now I understand why Cassian would say that, and I kind of feel like it's kind of fun to put those puzzle pieces together. I enjoy doing that.
Oh yeah, I think it'd be fun. I almost think like something with Cassian, like we're seeing with the Mandalorian, would be cool. Like he has flashbacks to being a kid, and he loses his family or whatever it is that happens. I think that would be super cool. Jory, anything you're expecting from Cassian? I mean, was he a favorite character of yours in Rogue One, or are you excited about this? I mean, Cassian's kind of gone by the wayside with all the news in Star Wars, but are you excited?
See, it's funny because so when Solo came out and Rogue One, both of them, I was not on board at all. Like I didn't care whatsoever. And now I can't say they're my favorite movies, but they brought so much to the table that I really enjoy them all. So when we talk about this Cassian series, at first I was like, really? Like he wasn't even close to my favorite movie or favorite character in that movie, let alone, something I want to see more of. But the more that I have, really just stepped back and started to just think about everything as a whole, I think that they can do a lot that will really enhance the universe. And so, yeah, I'm really excited for it. Once again, I think I would have chosen Jin, to kind of get more of her backstory and to see, but, they have a better mind for this than I do. So I'm sure it's going to be great because they've already, The Mandalorian's phenomenal. We don't have anything else to compare it to. But I would say it's probably some of the best stuff in Star Wars right now. And so, yeah, I'm really excited for Cassian.
I gotta agree with Jory. I wanted more Jyn Erso. I thought Jyn was awesome. I thought her book was fantastic. I needed more with Jyn. I don't know. I needed more with her. So great point, Jory. I don't even remember what I was gonna say now. I had something about Jyn and the Cassian Andor series. I don't know. We talked about this several weeks ago, and I don't know if you guys recall this. And maybe I know Luke and Holly hadn't seen it, but there was a ABC television show that they were doing a test shooting for. And I don't remember what the hell it was called now, but there's test footage out there now that was leaked, and I gotta be honest, it looked terrible. It was Star Wars Underworld or whatever it was.
What a weird name.
The footage looked terrible, but I can see a Cassian Andor series kind of fulfilling that. The kind of Star Wars Underworld, he's navigating the kind of he's going to Coruscant and he's, stealing secrets, whatever he's doing, hiding against the Empire. I don't know. I could see something like that working for him in a much higher quality Disney Plus production. Luke, I don't know if you got to watch that teaser or the test clip. It was god awful, but I mean, am I in the right direction there?
Yeah, I never saw the actual video. I heard some of the audio somewhere else, but I haven't looked up the actual clip. But I think that yeah, the whole Disney Plus era is a totally different ball game, and some of the filming technology they have, it's kind of like analogous to what George experienced as he went through his
Yeah.
Star Wars movies, where you know you get a second Death Star in Return of the Jedi because he couldn't quite do what he really wanted to do with the first Death Star, and like I I love that second Death Star battle, and I loved when they put it into one of the GameCube Rogue Squadron games, and you got to play it because it's so epic, and he was able to do that. And then again, going back to the prequels, he couldn't have made Episode 1 through 3 because the scenery is so much more expansive, the battles are so much more expansive.
Yeah.
So he made the sequel trilogy, or sorry, the original trilogy, which takes place in more remote areas because you have rebel cells that aren't operating out in the open in the most populous areas. And once the technology develops, then he's able to tell the stories that take place in these metropolis-like settings, because it just wouldn't have worked in the budget before. And now, we look at what George was going to try to do, and the reason it got canned, I think, is because it wasn't there. The level wasn't there given the budget restraints. But now, luckily things have progressed, and now they're able to give us something of high quality. And even in Mandalorian, it's not on the level of the theatrical releases in terms of the quality of some of the graphics and the visuals, but it's strong enough that it still gives you kind of the same feel. And the story, as long as the storytelling, I think, is strong, it'll be okay. So I have a lot of faith that they're gonna work really hard to get these pieces right. I know they're rewriting a lot of the Obi-Wan series because they didn't like the first go around, and that means that they're really being careful and really trying to put out a good quality. They don't want to pump out a bunch of stuff, even though if it's poor quality, even though they want to try to maintain that level. And Cassian just has so many storytelling possibilities because of the era, like David was talking about. It's such a rich era in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope to see the how things bridge in between there to get to where we are with the rebellion. I think you could have almost an endless list of crossover characters appearing Cassian that would really add something to the story. I think I've said before, I would like to see Kira appear, and maybe Crimson Dawn, like him have a run-in where somebody like Cassian makes an alliance of convenience, even though maybe their ideals aren't aligned, but like, oh,
yeah,
there's this one thing that might be mutually beneficial to both of us, and he could run across Akira and Amal and Quinlan Voss, or not Quinlan Voss, Dryden Voss. Is that the dude's solo, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. I personally want to see Hera in live action. For me, that's up there with seeing Ahsoka in live action. I think Hera, I don't even know where Cassian would meet them, but he has to have worked with them, right? I mean, he's pretty high up there in the rebellion, so he has to have come across her. They had to have worked together. Where did they meet each other? Did they bring cells together? There's just so many questions I have, but she's one I would also love to see there in live action. Nettie, I want to ask you, outside of Obi-Wan, outside of Cassian and the Mandalorian, what do we want to see next from Disney Plus? What are we going to focus on next?
Oh, that's a tough question there.
Are we going back in time, going 1,000 years in the future, and we don't know how the hell we got here? But here's some heroes, and we'll tell you what happened later. I don't know.
If I had to pick, I'd probably going back in time would always be great. I mean, bring Revan back in canon would be amazing. If I had to pick, I'd probably pick Thrawn. I know we're getting some more of him with that new book coming out this fall, but trying to avoid spoilers into Rebels, I want to know what happens after Rebels.
Yeah.
I want to know what he and Ezra are doing. I mean, there's also with the new Thrawn trilogy, there's the Grisks that I want to know what's going on with that. So, I think wrapping up that story would be really interesting to see.
I think Thrawn, the Chiss ascendancy in a television series is perfect for a television series. I mean, I could see it being a drama, like not even a bunch of action, but just the manipulation and the just cunningness of these people. They're just, I don't know. They're very witty. They're very calculated. I feel like that would make for a good freaking television drama. Even, I mean, I know Thrawn is pretty skillful and can and swing a sword, but I feel like, I don't know, just that could be pretty cool in itself. I don't know. We still have Brent with us. Might be muted. Might be attending to children, but we'll come back to him once we hear him. David, I gotta know. It doesn't feel like maybe this sequel trilogy kind of lived up to your expectations. Where do you want Star Wars to go, kind of in the future now?
Well, I think it should take a break from anything to do with Rey or any of these characters that people are kind of lukewarm on right now.
Yeah.
I'd definitely like to see the sequel to Rebels. Where does that go? That story to me is where what Star Wars should explore right now. What happened to Ezra? And that can also then cross over into whatever is going on with the Mandalorian, with the live action Ahsoka. All of that seems like it can come together with the Darksaber, and maybe there's more to it that we just don't know at this point.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It feels like the Darksaber there was a tease of this is going to be super connected to Rebels. And man, I'll be honest, I thought Ezra was coming flying back with Thrawn on a space whale in The Rise of Skywalker. I thought it was happening. I thought he was coming out of the unknown regions. I was like, holy shit, it's going to happen. And it didn't. So yeah, seeing them coming back, maybe even teaming up, I don't know, to do something to find their way back. I don't know. I agree with you though. That's a story you cannot leave like that. You just can't.
No. I actually turned to my son and said, "Not space whales, please no." so
I agree. They're not great, but I would have been down in the moment just to have them come back. Just, they needed a mode of transportation. That's all they had. They jumped to light speed and they made it home. But
besides, Ezra just gets them.
He just speaks to them somehow. He knows how to communicate with them, and it's awesome. Brent, I gotta know, man. We got you back now. Where's Star Wars going for you? Where do you want Star Wars to be in the next couple years? Outside of Obi-Wan, Cassian, is there anything particular you'd really like them to delve into?
Oh, geez. I mean, the whole High Republic part. Hey, buddy.
Hi, buddy.
Sorry, training accident I had to deal with the youngling.
Good.
The High Republic, that all sounds really interesting. I'd love to see them go back, to deal with that even further even. But really, when you leave off The Last Jedi with Rey lighting up a yellow lightsaber, how do you not continue on with their story?
I agree.
So I would like to see, that taken up at some point, whether, it's animated or however they decide to do it, but to continue that story. And then, there's also stuff, they really need to go through and fill in, Ben's fall. Ben's downfall. That is probably one of the more intriguing aspects of things that they haven't even touched on. Probably even more interesting to me than Yoda's history, which they're dealing with the Mandalorian. But that's kind of where I'd like to see it go.
Yeah, that's something we were talking about. We read that Rise of Kylo Ren comic line, and it was only 4 issues, but I thought we were really going to dig into something and learn more what happened with Kylo, and it just didn't happen. So now I'm like, you could do an animated series. We don't need to bring, Adam Driver back. We don't need to try doing that crap or DH. Just do an animated series of him and Luke having problems or maybe him and Luke off doing really awesome things. Some of those stories that we saw Luke and Ben Skywalker doing in the Fate of the Jedi series, and really kicking ass and going on adventures together. And then things start to go wrong. What happens? Why is Luke so troubled with Ben, and what is it that's really? We have a general idea of what's bothering Ben Solo and why he is the way he is, but let's flesh that out a little more. Let's get to the heart of what actually happened and show that Snoke manipulation and really what drove him to the dark side. I feel like that's an animated series waiting to happen. Make it a little darker. Make it darker than the later seasons of the Clone Wars. Let's really get into it. So yeah, there's so much story there to tell, and it's kind of crazy to me that we just kind of glossed over that in the sequel trilogy, and I get why they did, but that's a story I'm also super fascinated in. Jory, where would you like to go, my friend, in Star Wars?
Man, it's a loaded question because, just kind of like everybody's saying, in different time frames that you can go to and different stories you can pick up on. It's just really cool, seeing everybody's perspectives, because, you have David who, wants to see more of the Rebels, and you have Brent, who wants to see more of the sequels and the things they didn't tell. And, I want to see it all. I truly do.
Yeah.
And I think that the High Republic, like Brent was just saying, that'd be really cool to see. Just to see, I think what we'll end up getting there first is obviously those books, and then maybe, really building into that.
Yeah.
But then I've said this before, I'd always love to see Bane, go back in time and however Disney wants to do it, but just to show how the evil started, and not even the evil starting, but how the Sith started, because our trilogy, our main trilogy, for our original trilogy, they just kind of tapped into that, and then the prequels, I mean, all 9 really were kind of based around the Sith, and they're being in hiding, and then their rise to power, and then their downfall, and then rise again, and another downfall. We always had these bad guys, and just to see where they came from, how everything started, and why we have this turmoil in the galaxy, and just to see their plots they had and how they got to be as strong as they were.
Yeah, no, and I am actually surprised it isn't one of the first things we're seeing after the sequel trilogy, to be honest. Obi-Wan makes sense to me. I mean, we all love Ewan McGregor. I think he'll be awesome, and that's a story worth telling. I think that's great. The Cassian thing was unexpected, but
we'll take it.
We'll take it. But yeah, an Old Republic, series, or maybe even like you mentioned, taking Bane, and even if we change those characters a bit to fit in the story, I'm fine with that, because I think you did it with Thrawn. The character stayed true. You just put him in a different damn time period, and it works out great. And I think that's something you can easily do with Bane. You can easily do a rule of 2, like style story without sticking to those books, because I don't think they'll ever really canonize those stories, but take elements of it and what works. It's the same thing with Plagueis. Those are great stories. Let's use what really works best and tell a new story. And I think they're very capable of doing that. I'm just honestly shocked that they haven't, because that's such a time in Star Wars that everyone loves, and we've never really seen anything about it other than a few books and a game. So I think that's something that they really need to tap into soon. Yeah.
See, I think they might not have tapped into it just because of the fact that a lot of hardcore fans already kind of know the story. And so maybe they're just taking it for a grain of salt, that everybody's already on board with it. And, hey, you know what? We're not going to canonize it, because really, what's the monetary gain that we get from canonizing it? Other than, I think they might have to actually purchase the books, and then maybe purchasing it wouldn't bring back the money that, that they would have to give out to purchase it.
Yeah.
So it's a possibility that they will never really rehash what happened, because they're just going to take it as, hey, all these Star Wars fans are going to see this as canon.
Yeah.
And we already kind of touched on it with the movies, so we don't really need to explain it any further. But I think that getting that story in live action and seeing it on screen would be really cool.
Yeah, and you're right, and it could also piss a lot of people off, because a lot of people love, the expanded universe. They love Luke Skywalker and Ben Skywalker and Jason Solo. They love that story, and they love how epic those characters were. And then we got something really significantly different in the sequel trilogy, and that upset a lot of people, and I totally understand that. And so you run the risk then of going.
But then you'll have the.
Yeah.
But then you'll have the people like me who don't know, and it'll just be new Star Wars to me. Like,
exactly.
I I knew Thrawn was in the wrong time period, but I
Yeah.
never read the books. So to me, it all worked, and it made it very interesting.
And that's what I think. You take those beloved characters and you put them in something different. And like I said, it worked for Thrawn. I mean, Brent would tell you, like, the character himself, spoke true to who Thrawn was in the books. He's just totally in like a hugely different time period, and it just worked. And then you're able to create new stories because now you have the Emperor, you have Vader. There's a little competition there. There's a little struggle there that you didn't get in the Thrawn trilogy. So I totally agree. I think that's a great point, David, that there's some people that don't care about that stuff, and if it's Star Wars, they're going to check it out, but it maybe just isn't their, they don't want to read the books, and that's totally fine. And maybe they'll get a really great story out of it with characters we already love. And I think it has to be done. I think it has to be done. But something I gotta ask. So let's talk about Clone Wars for a little bit. And there's only a few of us here that have watched it. I am 3 episodes behind. Luke also isn't here. Nettie, are you caught up on Clone Wars?
I am. Got up this morning.
So what do you think, man? I'm 3 episodes behind, and I don't mind you guys spoiling the hell out of this thing for me. So where are we at here, and are we where we need to be, seeing as how we're halfway through the season now?
Yeah, I'm still waiting for, the Maul and the Mandalore arc, but I think that's going to be the end. So, not too anxious. Oh, I'm happy to wait for that.
Okay.
They did bring Ahsoka back in, what was it, last week's episode?
Okay.
So I'm glad to see her back and liking her arc so far that she's going through. And right now, I think, this episode kind of left off on a cliffhanger, but I enjoyed it for the most part. Like Luke was saying before we started recording, there was some nice ties to Solo, so I really enjoyed it. Or maybe that was David. I can't remember who said that.
Yeah.
But so I've enjoyed it so far.
Okay, I will say Sam Witwer said this week or last week, I can't remember what it was, that this Mandalore finale is one of the best stories in Star Wars he's ever heard. And that's Sam Witwer. He's a huge Star Wars fan. He voices Maul. He's voiced the Emperor. He was part of the Force Unleashed. Like, he knows Star Wars and he knows storytelling. And if he's saying that this is one of the best story arcs he's ever read in Star Wars, and that's coming from him and Dave Filoni, like, I think this is going to be epic, and I cannot wait. And I need to get Holly to care about Clone Wars. It's very difficult. I get it. You're many seasons behind, and Jory's in the same situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got to get you on board because it's great storytelling. David, you're caught up, right?
Yeah, I caught up yesterday.
What'd you think?
Well, I would first say that this season would be easy to jump in. You probably don't even need to watch any of the other stuff because it starts out at a point that really has nothing to do with anything else.
Yeah.
And so, but as far as it goes, I mean, it's been okay. It's been kind of slow to me.
Yeah.
So far, I'm not liking this arc, and with Ahsoka, it's a little, I don't know, immature to me. Well, we'll see if it kind of picks up. I see the tie-ins with Solo. One thing that I didn't like is how they made it to Kessel just through Lightspeed, and they come out of Lightspeed and they're at Kessel, and I didn't think that was possible, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, Han had a hell of a time navigating to get there, so I can imagine that was probably pretty enlightening. Wait, what? They could just jump through to Lightspeed and they're there? Yeah, that's maybe there's I don't know, less, I don't know, asteroids or I don't know, whatever the hell they went through. But maybe that's gone now. I don't know.
They didn't even have to work for it.
They didn't have to work for it, apparently. But we'll ask Luke when he comes back what he was thinking. Yeah, so far the series, I mean, has been a little slow for me. The Bad Batch, I think it was an interesting, story, and I know Dave's stuck with that. That's something he's had written for many years, and I think a lot of that story was already done. They just kind of touched up a little bit for this finale. But so far, yeah, it's a little slow, and I think that's why Holly's probably struggling a little with it, because it's a little slow. It's not some of the Clone Wars that I love, but it's interesting. It's interesting. Brent, have you got anything? Oh, go ahead.
I think it's going to pick up.
Go ahead, Dave.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it's going to pick up it's going to pick up with the way that this last episode ended. I think they're going to have to ramp it up now. There's only, I think, 6 episodes left, so it should start getting good, I'm thinking.
And and all I've heard, online is people saying, hey, like this is going to tie in so much with episode 3. Like you're going to be seeing, if not scenes from episode 3, like things that are going on during episode 3. I mean, are we getting anywhere close to that at all?
Not yet.
Not at all. Okay, so it's going to be an interesting few episodes, I'm assuming, for a finale. But Brent, have you got into Clone Wars at all?
Yeah, I watched it. I think when they first released it on Netflix, so I could watch it properly, not have to wait through commercials and everything like that. But at the time, I didn't realize that it was out of order for the first 3 seasons. So I'm then going back through and watching it in order now. It makes much more sense.
Oh my gosh,
when you go through those first couple seasons or whatever. And then I haven't seen the newest episode yet, but I'm kind of liking the Bad Batch. I'm wondering, what part they're actually going to play when everything shakes out. Are they going to sacrifice themselves to save Rex, and that's how him and his crew kind of get out and be able to be around for Rebels later on, or just how exactly they're going to go down. And then I was looking into the timeline on Wikipedia because I was trying to figure out where Princess Leia of Alderaan actually fit in with everything as far as Clone Wars went. And then looking through there, it went on to the final episodes of Clone Wars, and I think it was saying like the last 5 or 6 episodes of the series actually take place simultaneously with episode 3. Wow. So we're going to be getting into the crunch time here pretty soon as far as that goes, and that should be getting interesting. And I'm assuming that it's going to be showing a lot of overlap with the different Jedis that are killed and how that goes out, and maybe what's going on. Does Rex find out the chip? Do they pull it? How exactly do they not take part in that and be able to escape themselves? It would be pretty interesting for that aspect.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty devastating. Again, I feel like they're going to hit us even harder with Order 66. We're going to see, more people perish. It's going to be very dark. There's a lot of funny memes out there about Order 66 and the Clone Wars. Anyway, that's a side discussion. So what else, you guys? What else you want to talk about in Star Wars? The rise of... Yeah, Daddy, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, while we're on Clone Wars, there was one thing in, I think it was the 2nd episode of the season, I wanted to gauge the group on. Say there's that part where Anakin's, kind of hiding in the bunker talking to Padme, and Rex is keeping cover. Then Anakin comes out, and Obi-Wan's like, "I hope you told Padme hi for me." So I know a lot of people were kind of like, how much does Obi-Wan know? Yeah. So I kind of wanted to see like how everybody else took that line, because I thought it was kind of a interesting line there.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he knows. He knows everything.
He does. He does.
That's what I was going to say. Obi-Wan knows.
He absolutely does.
He knows, but if he openly admits it, he has to tell Yoda, and he doesn't want to.
That's right. And that just speaks to him and Anakin's relationship, right? Like, God, I don't know. Because, he says, Anakin's the father, isn't he, in episode 3? I'm so sorry. Like, and we're seeing, he knew even before then that they obviously had something going on. So I'll be interested to see if that's, discussed anymore. Just in that little scene, it was funny, it was lighthearted, but is it going to get serious here? I mean, are we going to have a deeper conversation about it? And he obviously knows something going on. Attack of the Clones, Anakin freaks out when Padme falls. Like, he knows something's going on, but is he gonna? I don't know. Is he gonna hammer down on him and try to get him to cut it off? I don't know. It could get pretty dramatic. Jory, what were you saying?
I think for Obi-Wan, this kind of speaks to some of his faults as a master, and you could take this either way, whichever way you want to look at it is, but I think ignorance is bliss for him. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes, we'll see some things that Obi-Wan does with Anakin that, and granted, we haven't seen a lot of on-screen master and apprentice, and it kind of seems like as a master and apprentice, at least that we have seen on screen, you either are so like your master that, you're a carbon copy of them, or you are just the complete opposite of them. And so, it kind of speaks to Obi-Wan's, maybe just him not being ready to be a master at the time, and his inexperience. I mean, he did come into his own, as far as being a Jedi at a late age. He wasn't ready for his knighthood at the time when he was knighted. And he didn't even have to go through the trials. He was just knighted and given, an apprentice. And so I think some of that is him just figuring out himself, how do I approach this? Because granted, with everybody, it's just kind of like life, you figure it out as you go, especially as parents, we kind of just figuring it out as we go. We figured out that our parents didn't have it all figured out either, like we thought as we were kids. So maybe it's just his inexperience, and but I 100% think that Obi-Wan knows almost everything with Anakin and Padme.
When he has his own temptations too, right? Like in the Clone Wars, we know with him and Satine, so maybe he's a little more understanding of it. If things had gone differently, I don't know if Obi-Wan would have been in the situation he's in after, post Clone Wars. So I don't know. Maybe he's a little more understanding than we realize, and he just kind of, like you said, turns a blind eye to it all. But Brent, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say that the whole trying to figure out who the father is with Padme just really reminded me when we were reading Leia, Princess of Alderaan. I wish I could have been there last week. That whole scene when in front of Tarkin, when they're going through the whole "you've been cheating on me" with Mothma or whatever. I'm just wondering if that was a conversation that Bail and Bria had in real life with Padme, or revolving around Padme, because they were always tight as thieves. Nobody really knew who the father was, but aside from Anakin, he was the only other person that Padme was probably ever around with in close quarters and by themselves. So I just, kind of that little shout out to the Princess of Alderaan. I thought was kind of funny.
That's a great question. There's so many answers that go ahead, George.
No, I was just going to say that's a really good point, because, the galaxy at large, and even like Brent just said, like, even her own parents maybe didn't really know, who her true father was. And so, it's just, that's a really good question. Granted, it does seem like when you read the book that they knew that it was Anakin Skywalker, but the galaxy at large, like, just not knowing, and other people of power, because you don't think that Bail and Brea were ever going to divulge that information to anyone. Like, they're never going to be like, oh yeah, it was Anakin Skywalker. He became Darth Vader, in the long run. But then again, who in the galaxy knows that Anakin Skywalker is Darth Vader? So it's it's just a really good point that Brent just brought up.
Did Bria, because wasn't there a point where you guys mentioned, it's been years since I read the book, where they're talking about Panaka knowing who she was. Didn't Bria say something, or was that?
Well, Leia told her that she thought it was like a weird moment where, like, he was asking her all these questions about, like, how old she was and where she came from, and because, like, Panaka was, like, figuring it out. And I think that the way that Claudia Gray wrote it was that Bria kind of brushed it off, but you could tell she was really bothered by it.
Yeah.
So she knew enough about Leia's origins to know that that's not stuff she wanted people to be questioning.
Bail had to have known. There's no way. At the end of episode 3, him, Yoda, Obi-Wan sitting there, right? Like, that had to have been brought up. Hey, like, we're splitting these kids up. They're probably super freaking force sensitive. This dude can't find them if he's still around, or the Emperor knows. I don't know. When the time's right, we'll all just kind of rise. But, like, right?
Or is it better to keep them ignorant about it so they don't know anything?
Well, that's what I also thought, that it better protects them if they don't know. And then, when, someone comes around and tries to do a mind trick on them or enter their mind, they don't know anything. But I feel like that had to have been a conversation, right, Brent?
Yeah, I would think they would have to. Because you get that line in Return of the Jedi when Leia is talking with Luke, and she's like, some I didn't know, but somehow I always knew. And then, you go through the Leia Princess of Alderaan book, and when she was adopted, they tell her that, your father died in the final battles of the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And your mother died during childbirth or whatever. And it's like, you would think that she should have known, because the only two people that we ever see fighting in the Clone Wars are clones or Jedi. So her father had to have been one of those two.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, Jory.
And going back to Brea and how she felt about Panaka, I bet selfishly she felt glad that he, was dead. But probably for the the rebels' point of view, it was probably she felt selfishly glad he was dead, but on the other flip side, that she's like, well, this is really our only guy that we could go to, to possibly negotiate any sort of terms. So I mean, I bet she was kind of split, when she felt everything. So
yeah, God, freaking Panaka right now left field. Yeah, Nettie has a great topic to bring up. What else, guys? What else is out there in Star Wars? The Rise of Skywalker came out. Have you all picked up the digital copy, or are you waiting till Monday like myself to get that Blu-ray?
I'm waiting until Monday. I've probably seen it about 7 times.
Let's go.
So I could wait until I get the physical copy. I don't feel like going to any stores right now.
No, yeah. I feel you. That I may make a run. Maybe I'll look for some toilet paper while I'm out too. But definitely I'm gonna pick up the Blu-ray and a pack of toilet paper, and they're gonna know what I'm gonna be doing. But David, you saw it 7 times, my friend. What'd you like about that flick?
Well, it's Star Wars. I mean, there's enough about it I don't like, and I probably could list more of that than anything. But I like seeing Luke and Leia train, and everything leading up to the final scene. I don't get into what I call superhero powers of the Force as much as all this Force Skype or whatever we're calling it. It takes me out of Star Wars. It feels like I'm watching a Marvel movie to me anyway.
That's fair.
But it still has its moments. The scene with Han and Ben on the Death Star, that of course that gets to you.
Boy.
And so yeah, it was, again, it's Star Wars, and I have ways of finding movies when I'm not supposed to. So I saw it twice in the theater, and then seen it enough times on the internet, we'll say.
That's what I'm talking about. Brent, have you got to pick up a copy yet? Are you watching it with the kids? I'm assuming you guys are pretty quarantined right now. Everyone's not really leaving.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to work for a company that is considered mission critical, so I get to continue doing my job, and then my managers were cool enough to let me do it from home. Nice. So it's been pretty sweet. But no, we've been holding out. I haven't picked it up yet. I'm waiting for that physical copy or whatnot. But there's so many great things about it. That scene, Ben's redemption is probably the most beautiful thing that's ever been shot in Star Wars. I mean, just everything that's going on around it, the music, the whole scenery, the ocean calms down from 100-foot waves to completely flat, and the sun comes out.
Didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
The whole thing about it is just totally cool. And then and kind of it'd be a good segue into the whole Force dyad.
Absolutely.
That was kind of presented there, and that. While it's kind of esoteric and weird and out there, I think it also is pretty cool because, when you go back and you think about it from The Force Awakens on, the only time you see Rey really exhibiting her powers is when she's in proximity to Kylo, the other end of her dyad. She's not out there doing crazy stuff the whole time on Jakku, and she doesn't even wake up until he lands on Jakku.
Great point.
She's kind of aware of things. So you kind of take it from that aspect of it. But to think about it more from Ben's aspect, I think is really enticing because, if they were the same age, then it would kind of make sense that the dyad formed when they were born. But they're 10 years apart. So was Ben just like feeling incomplete as a child until she was born, and then he felt less incomplete because they weren't connected? Or was he like whole? And then at 10 years old is when you start to see that change in him, with, all of a sudden he's feeling like, because half of his self is somewhere else, and is all the darkness that he experiences, the fear that he's feeling from Rey as she's running from whoever's trying to kill her parents and being abandoned on Jakku. Is that all the fear and rage that he develops ultimately in his fall? Is that where it comes from?
That's an interesting point. Did
so
you sorry, the last Rise of Kylo Ren comic, they actually bring the dyad into it because I think it's at the end of the comic when Kylo kind of like really like reaches to the dark side, and he, you know, kind of takes out his friends who came there to help him, and then right, am I thinking of this correctly?
He becomes Kylo Ren in that moment.
Yeah, and then right when that happens, they cut scene to Rey on Jakku, and she is like, wow, did you feel that? It feels really cold. And it's like she didn't become aware of that until he turned into Kylo Ren.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It seems to, because she says it's, you know, it's been there, it's always been there, but she's never really been able to identify it. But that moment where he actually really becomes Kylo Ren, yeah, it affects her. She's like, you feel it. It turns to Unkar Plot. She's like, do you feel that cold? Which is actually kind of comical. But yeah, Jory.
So this is a question for Brent. I don't know if you've read the novel or not, but do they cover any of that in the novel? About, you know, the Rise of Skywalker novel?
I haven't had the chance to read that one yet, so I'm not sure how in depth they go with all that sort of stuff. But I'm assuming probably not much, because it's going to center around more instead of, you know, that sort of stuff's going to be, you know, have to be hashed out in, you know, a series of novels, or, you know, like I said, the animated series.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I'm listening to the novel now, but I'm like just so not. I mean, I'm not far into it at all, so I just didn't know if you had read the novel or had listened to it. And so that'd be really cool to see if, you know, if they touch on it at all in the novel. Like, I just didn't know if anybody had done so or not yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But, you know, and then, you know, the dyad, the way it's set up, you know, it kind of brings into more the whole, you know, instead of maybe a bloodline that's carrying all this stuff, maybe more of a force line, because you get back into the comics of, you know, and did or did not Palpatine create Anakin from the Force?
Yeah.
Which, if he winds up doing, then, you know, they're all kind of Palpatines as far as the force line would be concerned, which would then kind of explain, you know, how that dyad might have formed. You know, was it waiting for, you know, because if you figure it passes down through Anakin, and then you have Luke and Leia, which are, you know, kind of like a dyad in themselves, being twins, but just not completely connected in the force. And then you have, you know, Leia has an offspring, and then, you know, was the Force waiting for Luke to have one to complete that dyad, and then Luke didn't, Palpatine's offspring did. So all of a sudden, that's what it found to latch onto, which is, you know, creating that dyad. So, you know, just kind of, just the whole thought process of that, and, you know, it's kind of weird, and I like kind of going down those rabbit holes. It's fun.
Oh, dude, you blew my mind.
Yeah.
When you said that, I mean, I don't know if I was on screen or not, but it was just like, geez, oh, Pete, like that just opens up so many different storylines that you can bring from that. And then like I haven't, I mean, because I watch quite a bit of YouTube just to see what other people are saying about Star Wars, and I have not seen anybody bring that up, so that was pretty amazing there, Bryant.
And does it feel like it's was this a purposeful? Were we going to this point all along, or are we now at a point because, you know, Rian Johnson was taking these characters in a different direction, and now, you know, we're bringing them back and saying, okay, how can they be connected? They're not related, so to speak. It just, was it purposeful, or did we just kind of stumble across this? Because the way Brent's explaining it, I mean, it sounds very purposeful, but is that how it came about?
I think it might have been intentional, because, you know, when you go back and you look at, I think Nate posted the YouTube thing on it, or somebody was comparing the orchestral arrangements between Rey's theme and Emperor Palpatine's theme.
Yeah.
And there's those subtle, you know, comparisons to it. And, you know, John Williams, they would have told him, you know, hey, she's a Palpatine, and, you know, memorize her theme according to that. So I think it was kind of laid out there as, you know, kind of a loose interpretation of, you know, this is what's going to happen. How we get there is kind of up to them. But I think that was kind of something that was set up early on. Yeah. And I think that might have been why Disney really was saying the whole time, he's like, yeah, how did you guys not know who my parents were? It's like, well, obviously I don't, you know, pay attention to augmentation of the minor chords and the music, but, you know, whatever it actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's actually really funny because, like, if you go back to the speculation before The Last Jedi, you start seeing people that were comparing her her stabbing into Kylo Ren when they had their very first duel, and they're like, that's a Palpatine move from Revenge of the Sith. And so it was, you know, you don't really know if this is all, you know, a cohesive, like, hey, this is what we had planned from the very beginning or not, because love it or hate it, The Last Jedi is a very different movie from the 7th and 9th installment of the series. And so, and it's very, and at least to me, this is how I perceive it. It is a very, it's written differently. It looks different. You almost are. It's almost like the the middle child of the group, I guess you'd say. Like it's just kind of the one that's kind of left out, and so it's just, it's hard to say. And I think that we, until maybe one day, get somebody from Lucasfilm to say, you know, hey, this was our plan from day one.
Yeah.
Until we get that, we're always going to have speculation until the day we die. And even if somebody does come out and say it, we're going to be like, was it though? You know, so it's going to be something that's talked about in Star Wars for a very long time.
And I find it hard to believe that Disney didn't say these are the things we need to hit, but I feel like they were just really big issues. Like, Ben Solo needs to be redeemed. I feel like that was like the one thing that they needed to be consistent throughout the series, and it did kind of feel like it was just chalked up to the writers. Hey, whatever you want to, as long as we get to that point, let's get there. But are they related? Is there a connection? Yeah, Brent.
Yeah, I think the scene in The Rise of Skywalker, his redemption, that was supposed to be, I'm assuming, Carrie Fisher, not Harrison Ford, that came back to deliver those lines. She was going to say the same thing that was said between those two on the bridge in, Force Awakens when he actually kills Han. But I think it was supposed to be delivered by Carrie, and we just didn't get to see that because she passed.
You're absolutely right. Yep. Yeah, George.
Now, does it come off even stronger though, because it is his father who he didn't didn't connect with as well as his mother. So I mean, like, once again, it's just all these factors that come into play, and then, you know, how we perceive things and how our characters are perceiving things. But it kind of seems like he would always have a little bit more in common with his mother, because of their, I mean, if you'd say force connection, but, their connection that they are force wielders. They are similar in that way. He was trained by her brother, her twin brother at that. And so, I mean, he's always has this connection with his mom, but then his dad coming back in the end to give him that little bit of a push. Is it because, Carrie Fisher passed away? We don't really know, and I think that's a really good point, Brent. But did it connect even better because it was Han in that moment? And it is, at least in the way I perceive it, it is kind of Carrie bringing Han into that moment, whether it be actually Han or whether it be just a projection. I'm not into that spot in the book yet, which I'm pretty sure they'll end up covering, but it's just really cool.
Brent, you're speaking my language, my friend, because I cannot agree with you more. Jory, you're speaking my language. Brent, you're absolutely right. I think it was absolutely supposed to be Carrie Fisher who brings him back. You can tell from The Last Jedi he struggles. He still loves his mother. That's just something he couldn't put himself to do. He just could not kill her. So I think it would have worked great that way. But Jory, I think you're right in that the circumstances surrounding Star Wars and Carrie Fisher's passing brought us to that point, but it almost feels even more effective for me because I feel like in order for Ben Solo to truly be redeemed, he needs the forgiveness of his father. And what a better way to just have Harrison Ford come back and say, I know. Like to give his line and to make it, to just add even more context to it. I mean, it's such a loaded line to begin with from the original trilogy, and now he gets to come back and use it, and it's about his son and his love for him. And to me, we all kind of expected probably Harrison to go. I mean, in that fashion, I did not. Holy cow. But I felt like he needed the forgiveness of his father. And Jory, you brought it up the last time we talked about this, and that maybe it was Carrie or maybe it was Leia, using the last of her energy to get Han there to have that moment and to stop Ben Solo, or to stop Kylo Ren and really bring back Ben Solo. I think it's one of the most beautiful stories in Star Wars. I cannot I need to buy this Blu-ray so I can watch that scene over and over again. It's one of the most beautiful stories, and it just so happens that the circumstances surrounding the production got us to that point. But I don't think they could have written the story any better, to be honest. It's crazy. Whew. Luke's back. Luke, what do you think, buddy? Just kidding.
Give him a minute.
Luke, we just went on a binger about the Rise of Skywalker, so really sorry you missed it. But you know what we were talking about. When we're talking about Rise of Skywalker, we're talking about the Ben Solo redemption scene, okay? But I want to, Brent, you want to share your thoughts with Luke here, because I need Luke to hear this, because I feel like you and Luke are probably synced pretty well when it comes to Star Wars intellect. So will you mind sharing that again just so he can hear it? I'm not going to do it justice.
Let's revisit the dyad.
Yes.
Okay, the whole dyad thing. So I think my thing with the dyad is, you don't, it kind of sense the Force until Kylo lands on Jakku in Force Awakens. She doesn't exhibit any of her powers until she's in contact with Kylo. She fights him off in Force Awakens, both with the lightsaber and when he's trying to read her mind. And that's kind of when you see her actually, being strong in the Force. Other than that, she's, just kind of mamby-pamby for the most part. But what I think is really intriguing is the aspect of how it affects Kylo Ren, seeing that they were 10 years apart in age. And so, when I was going back with Kylo was growing up, was he kind of felt empty and not complete until Rey was born, and then he felt less incomplete because she was there now? Or was he a complete person until he was 10 years old and Rey was born, and all of a sudden that's when he started to feel all the angst and all the anger that he was kind of sensing from her as they're running from Palpatine's henchmen and trying to be saved, and her being abandoned by her parents, and that sense of loss, and that's where all of his deep-seated anger comes from.
That was a lot to unpack.
And it's so connected to that comic where we saw, all those people connected to Ben Solo, his mother, and also Rey and Palpatine too. That was another one. Palpatine was there, and he's just like, "Good, yes." So Rey has that feeling, probably maybe one of her first, sensing of the Force. And do you feel that? Remember, she was talking to Unkar Plot, and did you feel that cold? It's almost like evil had just, surrounded her in that moment. So that Force dyad connection, man. I hope Jory's right. I hope they unpack that a little more in the book and the novelization, because it's interesting, and it's I don't know. They're not technically related, are they? So it's more so the Force connection, and I just don't know. I don't understand it, but maybe it's a way of getting us out of this bloodline, like we talked about, and Star Wars, and there could be connections in other ways, and it's not just your heritage, so to speak, because, and that's kind of a new age way of thinking about Star Wars, but it could be something that kind of takes us into the next generation of heroes or whatever that is. But Luke, you bought the digital copy. I mean, you've shredded it a few times. Anything new sticking out?
Well, what Brent just threw down was really an interesting idea. It kind of plays with destiny versus choosing your own path a little bit. Almost the way I took it, what he was describing, almost Rey's birth almost kind of doomed Kylo to take kind of a winding path through the dark side and back again, in a way. Which is a really interesting idea, and really interesting take on the Force dyad. I'm still kind of processing it in my mind. I think I've only been able to watch the movie all the way through once since I bought the digital copy, and then I started pouring through the special features. I need to go back again, but before I had watched it a fully second time, and the last time we talked about it, I said I'd gotten up to the point right before all the Death Star scenes, and I talked about how that's really where the heart of it all goes down, given the redemption and everything, and the battle between Kylo and Rey. And I still need to watch that scene so many more times to fully sort of grasp what's going on. in the not fully grasped, but I get the general idea that like Leia reaches out to Kylo Ben and makes him rethink where he is and where he's going. But the way it all plays out is still like there's a lot to unpack from that. And Rey, like I guess in the way that the dyad, they kind of start to merge together in that like Kylo's darkness is affecting Rey just as her lightness is pulling him.
Yeah.
With the lightning bolt that she uses to destroy that transport that she thinks Chewie's on earlier, and then the fury with which she stabs him when he drops his saber, when Leia connects with him. Like that's a bit of darkness that she was ready to just take him out when he was completely vulnerable and not really there for the fight. So that the dyad, there's so many aspects of it, and it was the biggest new piece of lore I think we got in all of the sequel trilogy. I mean, the rule of two like wasn't a thing until the prequel trilogy, and it might be the biggest like piece of lore we got from the prequel trilogy after the original trilogy. And this whole dyad deal is really the juicy one we probably got from the sequels.
Well, and what did Luke know about this dyad, or was he aware of a connection that Ben had? Did he think it was Snoke? Is it simply that he blames Snoke for everything that's happening? And I'm sure Snoke was manipulating Ben. He was turning him dark, but was he even aware of this connection that was even possible, or is this outside of Luke's intellect? I don't know if this is something he had even been aware of, or Yoda had even discussed with him. Like, I feel like he should have been aware that this was possible, but who the hell knows? I don't know. God, we got to watch that movie.
Yeah.
What else, guys? What else is Star Wars? What do you guys want to talk about? Anything else?
Everyone's still processing the
Spent.
dyad.
We're all still here.
Yeah, Brent pretty much blew my mind. So like, I can't think of anything at this point. Like, that was probably one of the coolest things that has happened to me in a minute. So thank you, Brent. I'm gonna go sit in bed and think about this until about 3 a.m. and then have to wake up with two little children at 6. So
they're not gonna want to talk about the dyad, unfortunately. I'm assuming
they might have to listen though.
That's true. Is anyone here a gamer? And I know Jedi Academy just came out on the was it the Switch?
Nettie,
did you purchase it, my friend?
I picked it up, haven't played it yet, but I haven't even finished the last one that came out on the Switch. I think it was Jedi Outcast. I need to hop back into that, but
yes, I couldn't get past the first stage of that. I gave up on it.
I think you were like 3 seconds in and you were like, forget it.
I couldn't see shit. I couldn't.
This down.
It was bad. But
it took me like an hour and a half to get past the first one. So
yeah, it was tough, man. And apparently you can play online. There's a multiplayer aspect there. So we're probably gonna have to connect and get on that thing. David, are you a gamer at all?
Only older games. Like I've been playing Zelda 2 this week when I wasn't working. But other than that, no, I don't. The new games just don't appeal to me. There's, I don't know, too many buttons or something. But you pull out the NES and I'm good to go.
Oh, dude, I feel you. Yeah, Holly's a big Zelda fan here. She, I was playing Battlefront the other night, screaming at a bunch of 12-year-old kids, and Holly was playing Zelda on the Switch, killing it.
Okay.
Killing it. Brent,
a link to the past. Best game ever made.
That's a good one. This is just a fun fact, but when I was growing up, my grandma was actually the big gamer in my household, and she had the Nintendo, and she bought A Link to the Past on the Nintendo, not the SNES, just like the Nintendo, and the little cartridge.
was just the original Zelda. Yep.
Yeah. And the cartridge came with a poster in the packet, and she still has the original poster, and it's hanging on one of the walls in one of her bedrooms in the house.
Nana's
awesome.
Nana's a
I'm
big
jealous.
nerd.
Jeez, seriously, maybe we'll have to get her on one of these chats.
She would love it.
Jesus. Brent, do you game at all with the kids?
Yeah, I've been known to dabble with thumbsticks every once in a while.
Let's
I'm kind of a product of my earliest memories as a child. The only two memories I have earlier than Star Wars are that of a killer whale, and I happen to be a marine biologist, and sitting on my dad's lap playing Pong in a Pizza Hut when they first came out, first Shakey's Pizza, when it was like the original video game. And yeah, after that, usually I'm on, but all you East Coasters are in bed by the time I hit it here on the West Coast.
Wow. That's probably true.
I'm going to have to stay up at like 3 a.m. one night, and we'll just wake up. Are you on the PS4?
I am.
Okay. All right. I'm going to get you.
I have Battle.
Okay. Good. Because I was up in my leveling. Holly saw it happen, and I was killing it.
I heard it happen.
You heard it happen. I was talking a lot of crap.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. When we start streaming this stuff, I cannot go that crazy.
Can you?
No, that's not meant for children. We're definitely have to do that. Nettie hooked us up with the Discord server. Is that what we call it? I don't know what it's called. I'm not very good at Discord, but
that's why he did it for you.
Thank God. Thank God, Nettie.
Well, I forgot to post another link for people to join in the Facebook after that first one, so I'll have to do that after this.
And we'll figure out how to put that permanent. We'll put it on the Facebook group or the page or something to get it permanently up there, so everyone can find that. But still figuring out how to run Discord. I'll be honest, it's new to me. But we'll have to get on there, make some time, kill some noobs, whatever the kids say. I don't know. Jory, are you gaming at all, or?
I am. Unfortunately, I'm not really gaming in the Star Wars universe at the moment. I have a PS4 and I have like one of the older versions, and I only have like 500 gigs. So at any point that I decide I'm going to play a new game, it's like, well, one of them has to go. So I don't even know if Battlefront's on. Battlefront's the only one that I have, so I don't even know if Battlefront's downloaded on my PS4 at the moment. But it's all backed up, and so at any point we'll be back on, ready to go. So I'll get online and I'll run with you guys a little bit.
Yeah. I was going to say, if we have to take up a fund to get Jory an external hard drive just so he can have more than a couple games, I totally understand, man. The struggle's real. I'd be like, am I getting rid of Destiny or am I getting rid of Battlefront? Like, come on, what am I? So, yeah, no, I feel you. Got to get that external hard drive.
I was not that good at Battlefront 2, though. Like, I am so much better at different games than Battlefront 2. Like, I was all right, but struggle.
Well, we'll get on there. We'll have Rob show us how we should be playing, because I feel like Rob will own us all. But maybe we just join his team and he can, put everyone through the ringer. So that's something that the casual fam's gonna have to get into. I feel like we're all probably a few trash talkers, and it can probably get pretty violent, especially Rob. I'm sure. So expect that soon, casual fam. Get on that Discord server, and Nettie's gonna post that link in there, because I couldn't tell you how to do that, so Nettie's gonna have to do it. And we're going to have to figure out how to get Luke on the PS4. I would love to see Luke talking a little trash to some 12-year-old kids getting pwned. Let's make it happen.
I'll cheer you on. I don't know if I can get on the action.
That's fair.
Luke, you just come over and we'll supply the beverage, and you can supply the moral support.
That's right. You think I'm bad? No one's ever heard Holly play Call of Duty. He's got the freaking mouth of a sailor, just owning everyone on there. So that's a lot of fun. So maybe we'll put Call of Duty back on too. But guys, anything else on your mind? I think this. I'm gonna tell you right now. I don't know. There's a lot of people here, and I was a little nervous. I gotta be honest. I don't know why I'm nervous talking to you guys, because we all talk all the time, but. I'm going to get, less sweaty, less nervous. We're going to keep doing this. These are some of my most favorite things that we do, Holly. We get to talk with these guys. And it's weird. The Skype thing, I don't know why it's limiting our visuals of everyone here, but we got to figure that out. Maybe we need a bigger screen.
Maybe we do.
I don't know, but I'm just actually surprised we're all here. We can hear each other. We can see each other. This is fantastic. And if you are listening to this, guys, this is our casual council sessions with our Patreon family. We put a video up on YouTube if you want to sit and look at a few handsome guys here and talking about, what we love. Go check that out on YouTube. You're probably listening to it here on the podcast, but that YouTube thing can be a little fun. And get to know these guys a little better. But these guys, are our Patreon family. I can't thank them enough for what they do for us, their donations and the fact that they want to take time out of their Saturday nights. Yes, it's Saturday night, guys, and people actually want to talk to me about Star Wars, and I'm honored by it. I'm honored, that they take their time to do this, and it means a lot to me. I hope it means a little bit to them, and we're just going to keep doing these things, man. As you guys come, we're going to keep doing it. And we do have trivia trials upcoming. We're going to have Brent versus Jory. And I got to get with you both and do a little, a little promo material. Michael's going to get his editing, groove on, do a little something fun with the trials. And I got to ask David. David, are you down for a little Star Wars trivia?
Yeah, I could probably do some. I don't know. You guys could probably take me though. We'll see.
Dude, there ain't no way, man. Now Luke can take all of us. I ain't gonna speak for myself, but Luke's a master. So that's gonna be the ultimate test. But we're gonna get that set up. Do a little promo with these guys. Maybe a little trash talking. I don't know. Do you think Brent's a trash talker?
No.
I don't know. I think he's a nice guy, but I think he could turn it on when he needs to. Brent, am I right?
Turn it on. We can try this one on for size. The dark side's cleaner than Exegol, and we're going to use Jory to mop the floors.
Them's our fighting words.
I love this so much. This is going to be great.
See, it's funny because I was just about to say, we talked about before, we're going to have like a little McGregor action, in our promos. And I was like, no, Brent, now meeting Brent, I was like, Brent's way too nice for that. And then he comes out with that. So, I guess it's on.
Just give it a few minutes. The poll's going to be up on the Facebook group. I can feel it. It's coming. Oh, that was...
Yeah, it's all about the dark side,
Oh, the dark side's...
Nobody ever expects this.
Oh,
this is going to be fun, Michael.
1 minute they're the hero of the galaxy. The next minute they're killing younglings. Holly, it happens in an instant, and I feel like these guys are going to turn it on at any moment. But I'm looking forward to it. There's just entertainment value in it. Obviously, there's Star Wars knowledge, but it's just fun. It's just going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be interesting via Skype. We're going to figure that all out, but definitely going to take the time, record a little promo with these guys, and we're going to have some fun with this. But yeah, guys, I think that's all I have for session 3 of Casual Council. I got to thank Jory, Nettie, Brent, David, Luke, Holly. You guys, this has been so much fun. I've taken up 2 hours of your Saturday night. I'm really sorry, but I'm also super happy that you spent it with us. Next time, I'm going to be less nervous. I don't know why I was nervous. I'm like sweating in this chair. I don't know if it's the lights or I'm just nervous, but we're going to get to know each other even more. I've got all your numbers now, so I'm probably going to be texting you. Just appease me there. But we're gonna get to know each other a little better, and this has been a hoot for me, and I hope it's been worth your while. So, Holly, any final last words?
I have none.
None.
No, I'm
speechless. Are you sweating too?
A little bit.
Is it the room?
Is it the wine?
It's probably the alcohols, guys. We've spent a lot of time together lately. It's been great, right? It's been great.
It's been great.
And this is the great thing about Skype and the technology. Was that serious? No, it wasn't. Oh, crap. It's been great that we have this technology and that we could do this, and we're going to do this stuff more often with these guys. So, Casual Fam, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Show these guys some love. Get in that group. I know you already love them. You interact with them every day, so go and show them some more love. Go to that YouTube page. Hit a like on this video. I know you liked it, and you're going to see more of it. So go ahead and check that out on YouTube. Give it a like or whatever on Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star review if you can, if you have the time. Give it a like on Spotify if that's even a thing, Holly.
Is it?
I don't think it is.
Just listen to
Just
us.
listen to it on Spotify or Stitcher or wherever you get it. If you need me to send you an MP3 file, I can do that. You just need to send an email to flyingcasualcast@gmail.com. We'll get that to you so you can take a listen. But that's all, folks. We'll be talking to you soon. Stay tuned for another episode this week. We're going to have another bonus episode this week. So who knows what we'll be talking about? I'm assuming Star Wars, Holly.
I hope so.
I hope so, too. So, folks, stay safe, stay quarantined, stay home. It could save lives. So hope you're all safe out there, and we'll see you next time. May the Force be with you.